Bonjour, I'm Pierre from French Moments, and in this video I will take you for a walk in Saint-Saturnin-les-Aptes in Provence. We'll visit the center of the old village, then climb up to the castle chapel before descending via the mills. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It really supports the channel and helps us bring more unique content to you. Also, if you haven't already, click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest videos. Let's begin our exploration of Saint-Saturnin-les-Aptes at the Place Gambetta. This square is lined with restaurants, cafes and shops. The Provençal open-air market takes place here every Tuesday morning. Let's take the Rue Albert Trouchet. We arrived at the Place de la Fraternité. This is the beginning of a fascinating discovery. Let's go up the Rue de la République. Look at this magnificent house. It's the Maison aux Atlantes. It was built in the 18th century by Jacques Ripert, a wealthy bourgeois from the region. In 1764, his son Mathieu adorned it with a balcony supported by caryatides. These are two sculptures supporting the balcony cornice with their heads. The Rue de la République is lined with other remarkable houses. You must pay attention to the doors, panels, columns and balconies of houses dating back to the 17th and 18th centuries. I will show them to you. You will notice that almost all the luxurious entrances are on the southern side of the street. Indeed, the wealthiest families settled in locations that allowed them to enjoy the sun and the view. We will visit the church a bit later, but for now, let's retrace our steps because I want to show you a charming corner of the old village. For this, we need to take the Rue du Pontin. Exploring this neighborhood reveals a quiet and ancient aspect of the village. There are beautiful stone house facades and long vaulted passages connecting to adjacent streets. Inside the city walls, every space was utilized, and houses had several floors. To save even more space, passages were built under the buildings when the ground floor allowed it. These passages helped to save space and improve circulation. Here's the Rue de la République that we followed earlier. Let's go back to take another vaulted passage. This one leads to the Place de la Mairie. Okay, let's go back. This little passage leads us to the Rue Blanche-Gaillard. Let's turn left. Here's a lovely shaded square. This is the Place de l'Hôtel-Dieu bordering the chapel of the old hospice. In its center is the hospice cistern dating back to 1835. It is a reservoir fountain. Under this imposing column is a large cistern with a capacity of 600 cubic meters fed by springs. It was intended to store water before the dry season. The fountain was equipped with a hand pump in 1839. We will now head to the church via the rue Abbé Pierre Mathieu. Here's the Matheron fountain with its beautiful 18th century sculpted pediment. We enter the Place de la Mairie, and here in front of us is one of the vaulted passages we walked through a few moments ago. And here's the Saint-Étienne Church. Do you see the inscriptions RF and Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité printed on the pediment? They date back to the secularization of the state under the Third Republic. These inscriptions were painted in 1906 after the inventory of public buildings. According to my research, there are 119 churches in France with a Republican inscription, making the Church of Saint-Saturnin quite a rare case. Let's now follow the Rue Pasteur. Here too you can find some lovely 18th century doors. Joseph Talon, an illiterate farmer from Saint-Saturnin, is considered the promoter, if not the inventor, of truffle cultivation. Born around 1755, he kept its secret during the Revolutionary period and only revealed it around 1810. Joseph Talon, known as the father of modern truffle cultivation, had a simple principle. If you want to harvest truffles, plant acorns. He proved this maxim to be true as early as 1810 by using acorns from truffle oaks. Many followers throughout the 19th century planted white or green oaks as well as ash, hornbeam, or lime trees, all of which live in symbiosis with the truffle. By 1868, Vaucluse was harvesting 380 tons of truffles from the Luberon Massif, the Vaucluse Mountains, and Mont Ventoux. Since 1986, Joseph Talon has had his statue in the Place Gambetta in Saint-Saturnin. Let's go down this alley to reach the Cours de la Liberté. I really like this residential area of Saint-Saturnin with its fountain and terrace offering a magnificent view of the surrounding countryside and the Luberon. Saint-Saturnin faces south of the hillside. The village is situated at an altitude of 400 meters, but the commune's territory reaches up to 1,000 meters in the mountains. You can see the chapel on the hilltop. We will climb up there later in the video. Saint-Saturnin is a commune of nearly 3,000 inhabitants with 27 hamlets scattered across the surrounding countryside. In the plain south of the village, there are orchards of cherry trees and olive trees, as well as fields of lavender. The vineyards of the commune produce AOC Ventoux wines. Let's head back to the old village via the rue de l'Oratoire. In front of us stands the old fortified gate of the village, the Portail Aiguier. The town gate is topped by the corner tower of the 15th century rampart. The building also housed a well cistern, which could explain its name. Aiguier derives from the Provençal word aigo, meaning water. The entrance to the village opened onto the Rue Droite, today the Rue du Théâtre, which was the high street of the village of the time. Precisely, let's go through the gate to follow the Rue du Théâtre to the church. The street looks much older than the 18th century, with typical stone houses of a Provençal village. Observe the carriage doors, the Renaissance-style mullioned windows, and the beautiful dry stone walls. Here's the Placette fountain dating back to 1853. We will return to this spot for our future climb to the castle's chapel. But for now, let's continue down the Rue de l'Horloge towards the church. On the left, we pass alongside the church. The current church was built on the site of an old Romanesque church from the 18th century. The church was included in the ramparts in 1360 and underwent various enlargements from the 14th to the 17th centuries. Under the guidance of Abbé Grand, the town demolished the medieval church and its crypt to build the current church in a neo-Romanesque style. This one was much larger than the previous one and was consecrated in 1862. Here we are in the Place de la Mairie. On the right is the town hall, and you can see the church in front of which we stood earlier. Now all we have to do is go down the Rue de la République again, giving us another chance to admire the beautiful doors of the 17th and 18th century houses. Let's take the rue Albert Trouchet once more to return to our starting point, the Place Gambetta. We have finished our tour of the old village of Saint-Saturnin-les-Aptes, and in a few moments we will set off for a walk on the Castrum Rock, then to the mills by the dam before descending back to the village. I'll leave you here as I'm expected for a meal at the Hôtel des Voyageurs restaurant. For our hike on the heights of Saint-Saturnin-les-Aptes, we will start at the Placette Fountain at the intersection of the Rue de l'Horloge and the Rue des Pénitents. On the left are the remnants of a wine vat, the village's first communal oven, and traces of dwellings and small shops. The communal oven was a wood-fired oven provided by the lord, who collected a fee for its use. The climb to the Castrum Rock is for those who are not discouraged by a bit of a hike, especially in the full sun. We now follow the Chemin de Basse-Roque. Here's the ruin of the Chapel of the White Penitents. Only the apse of the chapel remains. It's likely that its construction dates back to the 15th century. It was supposedly restored 2 centuries later but was abandoned around 1900 as it threatened to collapse. It was in this chapel that the first municipal and cantonal elections of Saint-Saturnin-les-Aptes were held in 1790. Let's go through the Porte de Viramont to enter the Castrum domain. In the 12th century, houses were built to the southeast in this Basse-Roque area, necessitating the enlargement of the walls and the addition of new gates. These were the Porte de Viramont downstream and the Porte de Rome upstream. I will leave you with the birds and music and will meet you at the top of the rock for more comments. Here we are, almost at the top of the rock at the site of the castle's chapel. But before reaching the chapel, let's take a look at a small sepulchral cave closed by an iron fence. It houses a reclining statue that was added in the 19th century. Let's climb these few steps to reach the summit. From here we can admire magnificent views of the village and the Luberon. This sanctuary was built in the 11th and 12th centuries on the remains of a Roman building and a 6th century Paleo-Christian church. Romanesque in style, it initially occupied only part of the castle's keep. The chapel was consecrated as a parish church in 1056 by 3 bishops, but in 1306 it lost this status and began to deteriorate. At the end of the 17th century, the White Penitence ensured its preservation. It was thus extended to encompass the entire keep and equipped with a bell, a pulpit, and a gallery. It was restored for worship in 1671 and served as an infirmary and quarantine during the plague of 1720. We now follow the crest of the rocky spur between the village and the old dam. It's a spectacular sight that I did not expect to discover. We enjoy uninterrupted views of the village of Saint-Saturnin, the plain and the Luberon mountain. Here we are at the ruins of the old village. The Gallic tribes gathered around 330 BC at the foot of the Perial Hill south of the current village. There they established the village of Agnan, which was later burned by the Saracens in 869. At this time, refugees from Agnan came to build a fortress and houses on the castle rock of Saint-Saturnin. The village is mentioned in the 10th century under the name Sanctus Saturninus. The town was named Saint-Savournin in 1607 and then Saint-Saturnin in 1770. A castrum was established on the rock in 1009 and the first village enclosure was built in the 11th century. The castle, more or less abandoned since the 15th century, was finally destroyed during the Wars of Religion. From the 17th century onwards, the old Perche village was abandoned. The houses gradually collapsed and only the castle's chapel remained intact. Here's the Porte de Rome, which opens the way to the Chemin de Basse-Roque that we took to climb to the chapel from the village. We now arrive at the dam. This is another unusual site to discover in Saint-Saturnin. Unfortunately, it is empty during my visit. The dam dates back to 1763 and supplied water to the Materon fountain located near the church. Then, after two overflows in 1780 and 1835, the reservoir was raised and reinforced. Deemed dangerous, this dam was doubled in 1902 by a second 14-meter dam built immediately downstream. With a capacity of 2,200 cubic meters, this dam supplied most of the cisterns, fountains, and washhouses in Saint-Saturnin until the arrival of potable water networks in 1953. We will now head to the mill by walking through the forest and the garrigue. I'll meet you at the mill for more comments. Here we are at the site of the 2 mills. Only 2 of the 4 mills that produced flour in Saint-Saturnin have survived. The first mill no longer has its cells, but the second has been restored and has become one of the symbols of Saint-Saturnin. The 18th century mill is the archetype of the Provençal mill, with its recessed roof offering little grip to the mistral wind. Around the restored mill, there was a tiled area for threshing and drying the grain. From the mill there is a super panoramic view of the Luberon and the Apt Basin. Let's head back down to the village via the Calade. The Calades are steep streets or paths paved with stones found in Provence. This flooring made walking easier for men and animals and limited erosion from torrential rains. Here we are in the old village on the Rue de la Combe. Let's turn right to reach the Place de la Fraternité and its fountain. Let's go up the square and take the Rue Albert Trouchet. If you're watching this on YouTube and you've been to Saint-Saturnin-les-Aptes and this part of Provence, I'd love to hear about your visit. Drop a comment below and tell us what you loved about it. Here we are back at the Place Gambetta. I hope you enjoyed this walk through the streets and surroundings of Saint-Saturnin-les-Aptes. In any case, it was a pleasure to introduce you to this lovely village in Provence. I'll see you soon for other adventures. À bientôt!